Hello, everyone. I'm Alex Lim, your host. And welcome to AuthorStory, the home of authors and stories that matter. This episode's featured guest is health and fitness professor and holistic health coach, Sharkie Zartman, author of Win at Aging: How to Stay Fit, Free, and Love Your Retirement. So, Sharkie, welcome to AuthorStory. Thank you very much for being with us.
Well, thank you. I'm excited to be here, Alex.
You're welcome. You're welcome. All right. So first off, your background. You're a member of the USA National Volleyball Team, Hall of Famer in the California Beach El Camino Athletic and California CC coaches, UCLA Volleyball Top 25 greats. You've coached teams to state and national championships thrice. Five-time
Yes,
USA All-American. This is a lot. So was this really what you wanted to do from the start?
this is exactly what I wanted to do. I
All
was
right.
a young growing up and I wanted to be an athlete.
Right. I'm definitely thinking like being involved with a lot of physical activities. It must pay to know your stuff where, well, nutrition and staying fit are concerned.
Right, right. That's all a part of it. I mean, if you want to be an athlete, you obviously have to take care of your body, and
Yep.
that involves training and feeding it well.
Yeah. So how deep did you go into nutrition?
What you mean in the book,
N-
when at aging?
when you were when you were an athlete, how deep did you have to go?
When I first started off, I really didn't think that much about nutrition, but I
Mm.
started to recognize when I didn't feel good during my sport, and then I started to just kind of clean it up a little bit. Now, this was a long time ago before
Mm.
we really knew the power of food. And
Right.
so
Right.
I just kind of with that on my own. But as I have gotten into teaching
Mm-hmm.
and helping people, I realize just how important nutrition is to
Mm-hmm.
everyday living and to help prevent disease. And
Right.
so I think it's an important element for everybody.
Right. And how would you say things have differed, right? Like the knowledge of nutrition right now compared to the knowledge of nutrition back when you were an athlete?
Well, I have studied
Mm-hmm.
nutrition at the integrative school for nutrition,
Mm-hmm.
and I also studied it at UCLA. So I've had a wide range as to what is good food, what is
Mm-hmm.
bad food. Um,
Right.
I don't like using the terms good and bad. I
Okay.
instead like use foods that are going to help you achieve your goals and those that are going to make it difficult for you to get to your goals. I think that's a better way to take a look at food.
Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. So let me go on a bit of on another topic here. You've written several books, like Have Fun Getting Fit, Empowered Aging, So You Think You Can Coach Kids, Use Volleyball. What was it that made you decide to start writing books? Sorry.
It was an extension of my teaching.
Mm-hmm.
I love
Mm-hmm.
teaching students and I love teaching face to face.
Right.
And
Right.
I thought, well, perhaps I can reach more people than my students with writing. And I actually started writing books because I needed textbooks for my courses. And
Uh-huh.
when I was checking out, I thought, oh, this isn't really what I want.
Uh-huh.
And so I thought, well, I'll do it myself. And so that's how kind of I started with the writing. And so
Mm-hmm.
it's fun. I didn't think I would enjoy it as much as I.
Okay. And you've written quite a few books, so yeah, I guess it must be fun. Now, what made you decide to writing books specifically about aging? I can understand stuff like Have Fun Getting Fit and Youth Volleyball since you were involved with those, but why write about aging, or more specifically, how about how people can live an active life in their senior years?
Right. I think the reason why I started to focus on this topic is because I have seen such a poor attitude in our society
Mm-hmm.
to aging. I wanted to give a different perspective,
Mm-hmm.
and people realize that getting older isn't a bad thing. I mean, aging is
Right.
inevitable,
Right.
but we can't control how we age and the rate. And also to take a look at the bright side. I mean, we're actually the lucky ones that get to
Mm-hmm.
we that get to live to be these certain ages,
Mm-hmm.
because look at the people that didn't make it this far. So we've been given the gift of time, and so I'm
Mm-hmm.
trying to flip the perspective a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
from people being depressed, oh, I'm getting older, this is horrible,
Right,
to
right.
hey, this is, I can handle it. Instead of saying, how old are you? I've been training myself to say, what's your age?
Uh-huh. Okay. All right. Okay, cool. So, I'd like to get some figures, if you, just in case you have these. Would you know how many people or what percentage of people are seniors today?
No, I really don't, but
Okay,
I
all right.
think we're still a pretty high percentage.
Yeah, I know that. I know I know there are quite a few, especially
Right,
with
right.
the
And
long lifespans nowadays.
exactly. People are living longer, and more people are retiring every day, turning 55 or whatever. And, so we're seeing actually an increase in the
Mm-hmm.
senior population. And since we are seeing that increase, that's another reason why I
Mm-hmm.
thought writing this book was important, because we want people to be healthy
Right.
in their late years and be able to enjoy life and also give back.
Right. Okay. Would you know what some of these concerns of seniors are? I mean, with regard to living living their senior years, essentially.
What, I'm sorry, what was the question again?
Would you know what some of the main concerns of these seniors are? You know, when it comes to living their senior years at the moment.
Yeah, I think a lot of people fear not being able to do what they want to do. And
Uh
so
huh. Uh
a
huh.
lot of people use the excuse, well, I'm too old to do this or that. And that seems
Right.
to be something that's, and that's not the truth. We see
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people in their 70s and 80s doing things that people are doing in their 20s and 30s. So it's not really
Mm-hmm.
the age. And I
Mm-hmm.
think people need to realize that it's, the number
Mm-hmm.
that you
Mm-hmm.
are
Right.
not determine your whether or not you feel good at that point, because there's so much that we can control as we age, and obviously we can't control genetics
Right.
or past history, but we can control what our choices are in terms of our lifestyles and our attitudes, and that's huge.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, I want to remind people of that, is, don't take a look at the dark side of everything.
Mm-hmm.
Take a look at what you can control and what you can do. Don't focus on what you can't.
Mm, right. Now, you know, hearing your words, I mean, I'm sure there are some of our listeners who are probably in their senior years and thinking, you know, come on, I'm already 60, you know, I've got this, I've got that. Is it really possible? I mean, I have to ask a question. Is it really possible to, you know, live an active life as a senior?
I really think it is, and it's
Mm-hmm.
different for everyone. So
Okay.
I I really believe that exercise is not optional as we get older. I think it's
Uh-huh.
something we need to get into our lives. We need to move every day,
Right.
because one of the things that's going to help us enjoy life is our mobility.
Mm-hmm.
And if we just sit up long and not move and just sit on the couch and watch TV or whatever, our body isn't going to want to move. It's going to get used to that. And so we
Mm-hmm.
want to keep our mobility. We also want to keep our brains active.
Mm-hmm.
And believe it or not, physical activity has been shown to also help our brains function as we get older because of the
Mm-hmm.
added oxygen content. And so, yeah, I think that we just need to realize that aging is going to happen to all of us, but it's an individualized process. And if we
Mm-hmm.
want to be one of those people that gets to enjoy life to the fullest, regardless of age, then we have to step up. We can't just be passive in the process. We have to be
Right.
empowered. We have
Right.
to look at these things that happen to us as a challenge. And most of us are going to try to step up to those challenges and not have them just knock us over. And that's why I relate aging to a sport, because of my
Exactly.
background. And I learned a lot in my sports as a coach and an athlete. athlete that I think will help people through this aging process.
Right. And so you did mention, yes, you just mentioned how age you view aging as a sport now. Uh, I'm sure there are some people out there who think, this is a stretch. I mean, aging. I mean, it's a fact of life. I mean, your body's getting older, and sport, it's something else. I mean, it refers to activity. So, in can you kind of link aging in a way that it could be considered a sport rather than as the way it's viewed commonly?
Right, right. Well, first of all, the title of the book, Win at Aging, I think we all want to win,
Mm-hmm.
right? I mean, you
All
don't have to
right.
be an athlete to want to win. And
Right.
the yeah, and so what I did was I took a look at some of the attributes of athletes, and it's not just about physical nutrition and exercise, but it's also about mindset. And I
Mm-hmm.
came up with an acronym called WRAP that I think is really important for anyone who is trying to go after a goal.
Mm-hmm.
And the acronym stands for resiliency, accountability, and passion/purpose. And
Okay.
so I, those three attributes are very important. The resiliency, not getting so upset and being down and complaining, stepping up and, well, hey, I can handle this, or what do
Mm-hmm.
I need to do, that kind of thing. The
Mm-hmm.
accountability, we are responsible for our choices. A lot of times the things that we take a look at as aging symptoms are bad habits catching up to us.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm. Okay.
yeah, let's take a look at what we did to ourselves to get us where we are. And so the
Right.
accountability, which is sadly sorely missing in our society these days. And so we need to
Mm-hmm.
work on that at any age.
Mm-hmm.
And the last one is a passion for life,
Mm-hmm.
just realizing what a gift it is. And that passion is related to purpose. I think a
Mm-hmm.
lot of times people start to realize that when they're older, gosh, I don't no longer have to worry about my career or
Right.
raising my family.
Right.
Well, maybe I can finally what I want to do. So,
Right.
what makes you want to get up in the morning? What kinds of things are you passionate about? And that's usually related to purpose. And
Mm-hmm.
so those three things, which are very, very easy to understand,
Mm-hmm.
if people realize how strong they are, I think they can get into that mindset. And also taking a look at what's positive in life, not
Right.
always focused on the negative, because there's so much negativity around us these days. And
Mm-hmm.
so
Mm-hmm.
say, look for the good and you'll find it. And if you're around people always complaining, I have a good question to ask them. Instead of asking them, how are you today? And
Mm-hmm.
say, what's doing good with you today? And it
Mm-hmm.
kind of freezes them a little bit because complain. Isn't that good?
Right. Right. Okay. Cool. So these three, I mean, rap, resiliency, accountability, and purpose. Uh, I take it, do all of these things, these three things, have to, I don't know, be present together for an for someone to live their life the way they want to, consider as a sport, or can you just, kind of slack off a little bit here and there in just one aspect, and you can
Well,
still do so?
of course, you can work on one at a time if you
Mm-hmm.
want. And
Mm-hmm.
it's just things that I've noticed about good athletes in sports. It's like the mindset.
Mm-hmm.
These are characteristics that will help them be successful. And
Mm-hmm.
so if a person, first of all, needs to work on getting tougher and not complaining all the time,
Right.
then that's what they should work on. I mean, that's a really good start. If
Right.
somebody needs to realize, hey, I did a lot to get myself here, maybe I need to start cleaning up my diet. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
I need to start making activity a priority, the accountability thing. And so if you don't like where you are,
Right.
well, take some responsibility for it and stop
Mm-hmm.
giving health just to the doctors,
Mm-hmm.
because we're in charge of our wellness.
Right.
Doctors are trying to get us back to disease or infirmity. And
Mm-hmm.
so our wellness, our quality of life is our responsibility, because
Mm-hmm.
doctors can't be with us all day
True.
and walk us through our exercises and make food for us. Show us how to eat.
All right. Okay. All right. So, I mean, you mentioned sport a lot. I mean, given your background, it's to be a given. You also talk in When at Aging about the mind-body connection. I mean, usually when we think of sport, particularly seniors, the physical aspect is the one that comes most into play. How important is the connection between mind and body when it comes to living an active life?
The mind-body connection is huge, and I think you're right. And when you say people mostly focus on the physical part,
Right.
as a health professor, I teach the dimensions of health and wellness,
Mm-hmm.
which include the mental, physical, emotional, social, spiritual dimensions of health.
Mm-hmm.
And the mind-body connection, we can't get away from. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it's almost like our body cells are listening to what's between our ears. They're listening to our thoughts. So if we're negative all the time, that does have an effect on how our physical body functions. And I remember when I was at UCLA, we learned about this situation where they were trying to do research on a new drug, and they were recruiting cancer patients. This was a
Mm-hmm.
double blind study,
Right.
and one gentleman called in and he said, please let me in. My doctors have given up on me. I have stage 4 cancer. I want to get into this research study. And they said, no, you're too far along. Sorry. And he
Right.
just kept calling every day, every day, and got in the study. And so they put him in the group. There's two groups. One is actually taking the drug. The other one is not,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
but it looks like it. And guess what happened to him?
Okay. Okay.
He got better. The cancer went into remission, and the people were just going, "Oh my God, how did this happen? He wasn't even taking the drug." And that's
Okay.
where they came up with the idea of the placebo effect. The
Uh-huh.
power of the mind
Mm-hmm.
is much stronger than we realize. And I think even though just having a positive mindset isn't going to take care of everything, it obviously is going to give us the best chance to live the best life we can. And so if we're just taking a look at everything that's wrong and hanging around with all these negative people, our life isn't going to be as full.
Right, right. And you also mentioned a few other things, because you also mentioned, like, in addition to the mind, other aspects. Like, I think you mentioned the spiritual, and I also believe, like, the psychological are also involved. How important are these other aspects when it comes to essentially to winning at aging?
Well, the spiritual aspect is a tough one to explain to people.
Mm-hmm.
I have to cover that in my classes, and a lot of my students think that they can't be spiritual if they don't have a religion. And
Uh-huh.
I try to teach them that, we can all be spiritual because we are spiritual creatures. And I said, think about it like this. Think about being, instead of a human being having a spiritual experience, think that maybe you're a spiritual being having a human experience. And
Mm-hmm.
that blows some of my students' minds. They just kind of go, ah, that makes sense. I can do this. So life is a challenge. We already know that. But
Yep.
maybe this is, we're having a human experience here. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's the way I kind of like to explain it to my students. And all of us are here for a reason. And
Mm-hmm.
we've been told that we have a purpose. And I really think that part of us kind of deciding where we're going with our life is guided a lot of times by our purpose, by what our strengths become, by what we are passionate about, like I said, because I
Mm-hmm.
think part of our responsibility here is to help others, and we
Mm-hmm.
can do that with strengths. And so I think that that is an important part, especially of aging,
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of people feel like they're no longer, vibrant because they no longer have their jobs,
Right.
and a lot of people retire. But, I tell them, gosh, this is your time to actually work on your gifts, to work on what it is you want to do and to share them. And a lot of people get into something else that's totally different from their jobs when they
Mm-hmm.
retire. And they're you're enjoying life to the fullest. I mean, I have a guy that wrote the foreword to When It Aging, and he went from a CEO of an international company
Mm-hmm.
to being a photographer
Mm-hmm.
in Hawaii and just becoming a beach bum. And just, he loves life. He's just thriving. He's in his mid 70s and he's swimming with the sharks and he's taking pictures of lava coming out of the ground. And so, yeah, I think all of that is is a part of spirituality and part of
Mm-hmm.
and enjoying life. Just taking a look at the wonderful gifts that we have and
Mm-hmm.
slowing down and just getting away from all this madness. I always recommend that people find some sort of a meditation practice or
Mm-hmm.
try yoga, bring the awareness inside of their bodies instead of always having it on the outside. And I also tell them, don't watch the news all the time. That's just darn depressing.
Right. Especially at a time like this. I mean, oh man, come on. All right. So, can you mention now? Of course, people have to read your book to get the entire thing. To get entire to all the aspects of how to win at aging. But can you give us one or two things that maybe someone can do right now to maybe uplift themselves? Like maybe a senior right now is kind of dumb and dumps, but maybe he can do one or two things that you can suggest that could help them start living life. Start winning at aging.
Right. I think the first thing to do is to make yourself a priority. And
Mm-hmm.
most of us have not been taught to do that. Most of
Mm-hmm.
us have been taught to serve others, to do what's expected. But I think the minute that we go, hey, whose life is it anyway?
Right.
And make ourselves and our lives a priority and
Mm-hmm.
realize that we are in charge. Now, I talk about bringing together a team, and I think that it's really cool when I use the sports metaphor. When you're trying out for a team, you either make it or you don't.
Mm-hmm.
You're chosen. But in the game of aging, you get to pick your own team.
Mm-hmm.
And so you get to pick your you get to pick the people you want to hang out with that
Mm-hmm.
have the same interests. So I really think that part of aging is really important for us to have a good team around us,
Mm-hmm.
people that motivate us, not people that drain our energy. I call those people psychic vampires.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I was doing a presentation, a woman raised her hand and she goes, "What if you're married to a psychic vampire?" Well, crowd him out. I mean, if you don't want to leave him, crowd him out with the people that are positive in your life, that make you feel good when you're with them. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think that's really important that we have a good social network as we age. And, now with COVID, it's hard to actually get out there and be with
Yeah.
people, especially in your age group, because we're at high risk. And so that's a real good reason to start learning more about technology
Yeah.
and getting into um, like Skype and Facebook, House Party,
Right.
um, FaceTime, whatever, to be able to communicate with people and stay in touch. We call our friends once every week just to check in and see how they're doing
Right.
because we want to make sure they're okay. And they always just some of them talk for an hour because they haven't talked in a long time.
Right.
And so that social contact is very, very important. And that's
Mm-hmm.
one thing that some people don't realize how important it is. And then they realize that they're in isolation and it's very depressing. And so
Mm-hmm.
we need that social contact and we need to find people that have the same interests as us, that have the same goals and add to our lives and don't diminish it.
Right. Okay. All right. Cool. All right. So definitely something that people can do. Seniors can do
Mhm.
right now. I mean, just pick up the
Right.
phone, say hi to an old friend, and
Exactly.
as you say, pick their team.
Right.
All right. Cool. Okay. So all right. So Sharky, in the last minute or so of this interview, are there any last words of wisdom you'd like to share to maybe inspire listeners? Listeners that aren't necessarily seniors, but something to inspire them.
Well, I would tell everybody that you can have a full, vibrant life regardless of age. And if you want to do that, then it's going to take a little work on your part
Mm-hmm.
and persistence, but it can be done, and
Mm-hmm.
it's not too late.
All right. Okay, fantastic. Okay, so great words right there. Okay, then, so in closing, our guest is Sharkie Zartman, and her book is When at Aging How to Stay Fit, Free, and Love Your Retirement, which you can find on Amazon. So, Sharkie, thank you very much for being with us on Author Story. It was really great being able to speak with you.
Well, thank you, Alex. Enjoyed it.
Okay, cool. All right, everyone, check out Win at Aging, and yes, go right ahead and smash the subscribe button to get a heads up on all the people and stories we'll cover in the future. So catch you guys next time on Author Story, the home of authors and people with stories that matter.